Hey everybody, Tim Lewis with TimLewisSports.com here. I want to say thank you to everyone for watching my videos already this season. Thank you for all the wonderful feedback as well. I'll be here all year long. We're talking fantasy football week 7 this week. The byes go to Indianapolis, the New York Jets, Detroit, and Houston, so keep that in mind when you're setting your starting lineups. That means a lot at the quarterback position. Matt Schaub, Peyton Manning, and Mark Sanchez are all off the board this week, so that means you might be looking for a sleeper. Quarterback position actually a little bit more thin than it usually is as well. So that means the injuries to Jacksonville's David Garrard and Tennessee's Vince Young could actually mean something to you. Maybe. Garrard had a favorable matchup against Tennessee last week, and he looked terrible. They're up against Kansas City this week. If he's out, he's out. Don't play him. If he's in, it's still questionable if you want to play him or not because he's been throwing interceptions like a madman. Young has a tough matchup against Philadelphia this week as well. Again, if you're desperate, go ahead and play these guys. If you're not desperate, stay away from them. As always, start the stars if you have them. That includes Kyle Orton now in Denver. That's because the Broncos sling the ball all over the field all game long. I expect Phillip Rivers to bounce back this week against New England. They have the 4th worst pass defense in the NFL. If you're looking for other sleepers, Seattle's Matt Hasselbeck against Arizona this week. Kansas City's Matt Castle up against Jacksonville, and even Carson Palmer against Atlanta. Matt Moore starting in Carolina again. There's also some word that Kyle Bowler might get the start in Oakland. I'd rather leave my quarterback position blank than start these guys on my fantasy football team. One more thing, Kevin Kolb is expected to start in Philly this week. Who knows what's going to happen when Michael Vick comes back? It sounds like that's going to happen sooner rather than later. Running backs are starting to bounce back to full strength, but there's still a couple injuries to keep an eye on. Oakland's Darren McFadden is the most important. He's been battling a hamstring injury, missed the last 2 weeks. If he comes back, he has a favorable matchup against Denver. The question is, how much will he be used? So I'm sure Darren McFadden owners and Michael Bush owners are going to be keeping a very close eye on that situation this week. Pierre Thomas also questionable again. I'm guessing he's going to miss his 4th straight week. Rookie Chris Ivory is the main guy in New Orleans now. Even though he's splitting time with Ladell Betts and newly acquired Julius Jones, Ivory ran for 158 yards on just 15 carries last week. New Orleans up against Cleveland, so Ivory worth taking a gamble on if he is available. Ray Rice, Frank Gore, Steven Jackson all due for big Sundays. I'll even give some love to Matt Forte and Noshan Moreno this week if Denver ever decides to run the football. Otherwise, you know who to start. Adrian Peterson, Chris Johnson. If you don't know who those guys are, you shouldn't be playing fantasy football. Couple of injuries to keep an eye on at wide receiver. San Diego's Malcolm Floyd is questionable with a hamstring injury. Denver's Eddie Royal also has a hamstring injury listed as questionable. Green Bay's Donald Driver also questionable. Deshaun Jackson is out in Philadelphia after that ferocious hit he took last week. The situation in San Diego, probably dicey to say the least. Floyd probably won't play. Legadou Nene is questionable again, and Antonio Gates is wounded. So that leaves Patrick Creighton likely as the top target for the Chargers. He had 6 catches for 117 yards last week. He has value if all of those guys are out this week. If Eddie Royal is out in Denver, that keeps the door open for Brandon Lloyd and also Jabbar Gaffney and possibly Demaryius Thomas this week as well. Deion Branch is now in New England, and obviously he has some value. He scored a touchdown in his first game with the Patriots after being traded from Seattle. That also made Mike Williams in Seattle an instant stud. He caught 10 passes for 123 yards last week, did not find the end zone. Both of those were career highs for him, though, and he has a good matchup this week against Arizona as well. Kansas City's Dwayne Bowe also came to life last week with 2 touchdowns. The Chiefs have another good matchup against Jacksonville this week, so Dwayne Bowe, if he's available, go ahead and pick him up. If he's on your roster already, think about giving him a start. Jermichael Finley is done for the season in Green Bay. They placed him on injured reserve. That's the biggest news at tight end aside from Antonio Gates' toe injury. He's listed as questionable. He started 85 straight games, and I'm hoping a toe injury doesn't kill that for him. Randy McMichael is the guy in San Diego if Gates is out. If you're looking for someone, how about Fred Davis in Washington? Chris Cooley has a concussion. He's listed as questionable this week. You could also check out Cleveland's Ben Watson. He appeared to be the outlet for rookie quarterback Colt McCoy in Cleveland. He had 6 catches for 88 yards. Could have another big week this week with Colt McCoy starting again. Todd Heap has shown some value in Baltimore this year. Again, New England's Aaron Hernandez is also worth looking at, especially in points per reception leagues. if he's still available. He's been pretty consistent throughout the season. Brent Selleck, Tony Gonzalez, Zach Miller all need to start for you this week. I don't care who the Steelers are playing. They have to start for you on defense if you have them on your fantasy football team. Baltimore should also have a nice week against Buffalo, and I also like the 49ers against Carolina. New Orleans also has a favorable matchup against Cleveland and a rookie quarterback. That's always a good thing for a defense. Seattle also looked great against the Bears last week, and they had 6 sacks against Jay Cutler. Also held the Bears to just 20 points. Could be big again this week against Arizona. That's it for this week. I got some great feedback on the video/podcast I proposed last week. It all depends on how much time I have. Unfortunately, I have a real full-time job doing a TV sportscasting job, and that keeps me pretty darn busy, especially during the college football season. We have college basketball starting as well, on top of the pro stuff and all the other stuff that we cover as well. If I have time to do it this week, I promise that I'll get it done. I'm actually leaning more towards a podcast. I'm just going to have to figure out how to get that done. Otherwise, I'm always open for your questions. If I don't get that done, I'm always open. I will respond to you. There's several ways to get in touch with me. You can leave a comment on my website, timlewissports.com. You can also leave a comment on YouTube as well, depending on where you're watching this. You can get in touch with me on Twitter at Lewis Sports, Lewis Sports. You can also get in touch with me on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Tim Lewis. Sports, I think is what it is. Double check that. If you type it in and it doesn't work, it's just /Tim Lewis, but I'm pretty sure it's Tim Lewis Sports. I think I'm losing my mind. You can also get in touch with me via email. This is the way a lot of people are getting in touch with me. It's tim@timlewissports.com. And also, if you're on YouTube watching this, go ahead and subscribe. And you can get the first look at my videos whenever I'm done with them. Usually it's on Tuesdays. Again, thank you so much for watching. It's awesome that so many people are writing to me asking for advice. I love to help. Everyone said, I'm sorry if I'm being annoying. You're not being annoying. I love this. That's why I do it. So feel free to ask me any questions that you have. I'll give you answers the best way that I can. Can't say that I'm always right, but at least I'll give you some answers. Anyways, thanks again for watching. Have fun playing fantasy football. Good luck this week.